Hey, what's up guys, it's Oakley and I am here with Indie Pride and we're going to be doing a game in Total War Warhammer, but this is going to be the Radious mod where I am going to be playing as a Kislev force here. Pretty awesome troops, and I'm going to be fighting against, like I said, Indie Pride, and he's going to be fighting as a Skaeling force, so he's going to be essentially invading my territory up here, and we're going to have to see off this raiding band. Let's go ahead and just put it on slow motion real quick. We'll make this super fast just to cover the units. Of course, with Total Warhammer, you don't get full mod capabilities for control over the units. Mostly, from what I understand, it's just moving around art assets and then doing a little bit of recoloring, no unique items. But nonetheless, I think Kislev has done pretty well, obviously bringing just a bit of the Russian colors and mostly just going for red reskinning of Imperial troops. So they do have some cool guys. Like I said, mostly a rehash of Empire's forces, just beefed up a bit more. So spearmen in the front, but then I have some of these handgunners here, which have some slightly tweaked stats. One of the cool units that I like is the Kosar force here. Basically, what's up with them is they are heavily armored, pretty badass. They have extreme range, and they're actually fairly competent in melee combat. You'll be seeing them whipping out these giant axes in the future, although they do look kind of derpy. That's a funny unit model. So you got those guys. Then stepping more into the rear, Kislevite swordsmen, kind of your bread and butter forces. They do have a mix of Empire's, great cannons and whatnot. Over on the flanks, some more swordsmen and some Kreml guards. Halberd units with the capes, just looking super ornate and royal. Now in the back are the two units I wanted to share with you, which are going to be, I believe these are the Boyar sons, essentially your elite great sword equivalents here, jeering against the enemy. So those are my Boyars chosen. In the back I even have more Kreml guards armed with swords. So the enemy's charging forward, cannons unloading on either flank. Indy's going to try and push on the right side, and I'm going to try and beat him back with these Empire Knights. Let's go ahead and watch from my Knights. Basically, I've already sent one of the units up through the front to try and slow Indie Pride down. He did try and chase me off with some of his war dogs that are in the mix. And so I'm holding the front line with some of these Kislevite Knights. Now we're going to get charged by the remainder of his troops. Most of his bulk forces are pushing forward, and this is where I have some spearmen. Not going to hold out for long, but it's just long enough for me to start to get some volleys off with my gun lines. And you can see Boyars, gunners in the back, cannons in the rear, and then archers in the middle, all firing away at the enemy rank that is in a dense position, starting to mass up on our left flank. A sorcerer is pushing forward, but soon the front lines are going to start to crumble and collapse. On the right side, you can notice that his units are beating back my Empire Knights, so they're pulling away. I do have some more reserves. These are going to be Tsar Noble Cavalry that I haven't shown you just yet. Also another very cool unit. But basically that's it. I'm letting Indy wash against my front ranks, and I'm beating him back with Kislev swordsmen and other cheap units, pulling my cavalry out of the forest to guard the left flank as well. Meanwhile, the enemy is going to be pushing forward with Khorne aspirants, taking huge chunks out of their lines. And here they're going to go charging up the hill. Oh my god, that guy just got thrashed. So Indy's going to try and form up here, but then he sees my cavalry starting to push forward. Meanwhile, my own front lines are collapsing. I'm going to charge back in with some reinforcement Kislevites. He's starting to penetrate pretty far. Ooh, and look at these troops. Looking awesome, but they've been caught from the flank, and now my units on the hill can reform. Gun lines, bowmen, chewing away at the enemy. And so my front line is holding fairly well, but tons more guys are going to be wading into combat. We'll see if my troops can even survive this. Knight's going to charge royally into this, but the back, the Tsar's Imperial Cavalry essentially is going to wade into the back. More elite units. Basically, they are the final remainder of troops that I'm trying to save. Ooh, and a spell going off here. I do manage to dodge this. It doesn't really do too much damage. Clips a couple of my men, my skirmishers. But yeah, I still have my gun line and my rear reserves, elite infantry ready. So they'll be able to help supplement my forces as the front inevitably starts to crumble. Some trolls held in reserves, and of course a sorcerer here overlooking the battlefield. Oh, and now the trolls are going to start to get into the fight. Just as my lines were starting to thin, so it looks like they're going to get up and over my ranks here. But these archers, man, unleashing. I get dense ranks firing one over another. That is freaking cool. Something so epic about just seeing archers and gunners fire. Really always love this. So we're going to start to target the enemy trolls up in the center. That's so awesome to see. This looks like something out of Lord of the Rings. Aim for the trolls! So my cheap units are doing their work, holding the enemy back, and the gun force is just destroying Indy. Unfortunately for him, this Skaeling army just does not come with much in the way of cavalry, so he's not able to get around my flanks, allowing me to do just so much work, forcing him down the middle. And then over on the sides here, where he wasn't able to curl around the flanks, I committed my elite units, and then I'm charging, hammer and anviling him to death essentially with my knights. Yes, he's got a bit of an edge when it comes to infantry, but not that much. I mean, my center line is only just now starting to break in key positions, but my bows and guns can now kind of disperse and fire into the enemy's flank. You know, his front lines here, his ranks on the flanks are going to start going down. Combination of infantry and these basically direwolf equivalents are going to be taking me out, but this is far removed from the battlefield. Ooh, and it looks like now I have even more reinforcements. This is perfect. So yeah, the much like the barbarians being felled by cavalry charges in real times, well, here you have the same thing happening, but it is Kislev at this time. So the flanks seem to be going my way. The center is slowly going to Indy's side as he does punishing amounts of damage to my guys. Although his Crimson Cultists and other units are starting to get low, he is amongst my bow line, and here is where I wanted to show you these bows in combat. Oh, no big deal. I'll switch to my secondary weapon, which is a monstrous axe. I mean, look at him whip that axe out. It is huge. That is something a Chaos Grand Champion would wield. So yeah, these guys, these archers, are not to be messed with, so they're going to be at least holding their own a little bit. They have pretty high armor values as well. Oh my god, did you see that cannon shot? So now I'm trying to target the enemy hero with my cannon. He's going to turn around. Pretty good move. So he's not going to be able to cast any more spells, at least in the near future. Although it does look like he gets one final one off, and this is going to start doing a lot of damage to my center ranks. Nonetheless, look at this little cluster of forces. Indy did try and send one of his heroes here to slow my guys down, but it is not going to be able to halt the rear ranks of archers that are going to continue to fire. Trolls in the background sandwiching my guys, but the archers are unfazed. They're going to choose their targets and just fire away into the blob in the center, and then the cannons crucially in the back still alive. Handgunners as well. Like I said, yes, the enemy can penetrate my lines, but now they're without cavalry support. They can only tie down one unit at a time, and that allows my gunners to pick away at forces. I decided to redirect at this point to these chaos. I believe those are chosen with halberds coming at us. So they were going to do a complete envelopment on my gun line, but the guns nonetheless are going to continue to fire away despite their rear ranks being targeted. These guys are going to give the order to fire irregardless, irrespective of what's happening over on the flank. So I believe we're going to get another couple of final volleys. My gunners obviously helping to support. Ooh, and more spells being cast on me. Indy definitely doesn't want me to fire point blank into his blob here, and I don't blame him. And my bow is holding strong. God, so good. And then boom, so the left flank has finally been essentially crushed. A couple extra units for chaos, but now they're routing, and my guys can start to reform, beating him back. And then this gun position, I mean, point blank firing straight into this chaos lord. I should be able to take him out pretty handily. That is the Skaeling war captain, I believe, tied down by my archers wielding giant axes. And in the distance, few remaining cavalry that I had were able to turn the tide back in my favor in the center. So overall, I would say this played out really, really well. Ooh, all those cannon shots missing. It's hard to miss at this point-blank range, but I guess they didn't want to hit their own men. But yeah, like I was saying, this battle ended up playing out in my favor. I mean, Indy's faction was just not built. Skaeling, excuse me, are built for, I guess, rushes, but just it doesn't seem with the lack of cavalry here, they can't do very much. Oh, besides decapitate units. But they can't do too much. I mean, you saw what I was able to do: hold down the center, and then basically just wait for the enemy to come at you, and then swat away any pushes around the flank with heavy cav. Hold the center as long as you can. Stagger your ranks, bows, archers, fire away against priority targets. Oh my god! And then, yep, once your cavalry get around the flanks, then you start hammering and anviling the center. This is, I mean, tried and true Total War tactics here that obviously prove their worth. So Radious isn't necessarily known for doing the best of balancing. A lot of the times he kind of just throws in any kind of unit that seems to look cool or sound cool. It's a mishmash of units that doesn't end up coming out to be anything too competitive or super lore friendly, but it does add some variety that I think is fun, and if we're not having fun with Total War, then what are we doing? Here comes my troops rallying. So it's going to be a mix of swordsmen, a mix of my halberds, all my kind of SARS men coming in here. And I can't wait for Kislev to be an official faction that actually gets released, mostly because they are kind of famous in the lore, or at least well known in the lore, for having bear cavalry. I can't imagine seeing that in real life. That is going to be so cool to witness. And the sorcerer still alive. Finally getting retribution on my gun crew here. Oh my god, one of my gun crew particularly brave. Oh, getting the last couple shots off there with their volleys, kicking the Chaos Warriors back. Don't really recommend that. One gets decapitated, and yep, if they start to reconsider their choice of engagement, they're going to give up that gun. But yep, cleaning up operations in the center. Cannon crew getting back onto their cannons. The center has finally been crushed by my elite cavalry here. The Star Noble Cavalry. Now they're going to wheel about and take a look at the chaos that we've strewn across the battlefield. Not much left, to be honest, in terms of units. I mean, yes, I have a fair amount of units left, but they're all down to bare bones numbers. 16 men here, 13 men there. Really not much. So definitely a Pyrrhic victory. Indy doing the best he could with a faction with no cavalry rushing down the center and essentially getting thrown into a meat grinder. Hard to play better than this. Indy is a good player, and yeah, just the army composition didn't allow us to do too much. Let's go ahead and end the replay, and just for the sake of it, take a look at the final kills and stats here. So I actually even had more men than Indy, making it even harder for him to get around the flanks. I mean, that's something that you would expect from a kind of chaos-based force. Look at my units here. Kislev swordsman, fair amount of kills. Most of the damage here was holding the front line with my Kreml guards with halberds. And the swords especially doing a lot of work. 141, 99, 77, something you don't see too often. These units here, I believe these are Boyar's Chosen. Let's see, yeah. 72, 128. Handgunners getting a lot of kills. Archers, 109. That guy was MVP. Empire Knights here really didn't do much in the opening stages, but they did delay, allowing my archers to do more. Tsar Noble Cavalry doing well. Cannons, 173. My god, that's insane. Tsar Nobles with 135 as well. So overall, everyone got tons of kills on my side. For Indy, his main line, Crimson Skull Cultists, actually got a fair amount of kills here. Did really well. Huskarls with 214, 119. A couple of Skullbinders here I would say didn't do too well. Those are probably his cheaper troops. And then the Fleshhounds of Khorne. I think Indy was hoping to use them for a bit more of their mobility, but at the end of the day, they couldn't do too much. Around the flank, they would have been charged. Around the center, they would have been hit by my halberd, so not much he could have done with those guys. Perhaps it might have been better to switch them out for other troops. But again, like I said, at the end of the day, this army was not built to match the might of Kislev. So I hope you guys did enjoy. I will have another one of these battles that we did. It was with an expanded Beastmen roster versus an expanded Greenskin roster. Very cool stuff. So that'll be coming up in the near future. Anyways, hope you guys did enjoy. Stay tuned for more. See you in the next one. Peace out.